Leanne, you want to go ahead and get us
Yeah,
started here?
sure. Well, good evening, everybody, or good afternoon, wherever you may be. I hope you had a great weekend. I am Leanne Fleischer, and today is Builder Day. And I reached out to one of our builders that's been with us since February. Her name is Tasha, and the company, their tiny house company is Cahill Works. And Tasha has just been a great member since they joined. She's gung ho Noah. In fact, they're doing a video series and documenting that. And she's just a great believer in the Noah standard. So I thought, what better guest to have than Tasha? She also goes to school, getting her master's, has children, and also runs this company. So very impressive, Tasha. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Robin and get this chat started. So thanks for being with us. We really appreciate it, and we appreciate your support.
Well, thank you, Leanne, and welcome, Tiny Housers, back again for another Builder Monday. And yeah, Tasha does have children, but she also has a husband who does the work. I was talking to her earlier that he's watching the kids right now. So Tasha has been doing what they call Scandinavian design tiny houses. So we're all excited to see that and to see a couple of the units that she's built, put together, her and her husband. They're also building cabins. They built I saw on a cabin that they had built. And so anyway, with that, I wanted to Tasha, for you to kind of talk to our people a few minutes about your philosophy on tiny houses. What does that look like? If you want to unmute and share with us what when you're talking about building tiny houses, you have a particular philosophy that you use when building those tiny houses.
Yes. And Leanne, thank you for that wonderful introduction. um, our philosophy is based on we're going to build something that we want to live in. And that means something that is open and feels like there's enough flow and air and movement that we can feel relaxed in that space. And I think that naturally, just from building the way that we build and designing what's comfortable for us, kind of fell into the Scandinavian design ideology. We didn't necessarily start there, it just kind of clicked together. And I did some more research about what that design philosophy really meant, and it just connected with me. And yeah, I did write about it on our website. One of our other strong beliefs is as natural as possible, which can be really difficult with some of the building codes. They require certain materials, or other materials are very difficult to find. But we want to make sure that we are doing everything as natural as possible, and especially in the interior of the house, not having any chemicals used in the finishing process that would create some sort of outgassing or allergy issues with people. 'Cause we don't know who's going to live in this and what needs they're going to have. And the third thing that we focus on is no lofts. We don't build lofts. We don't think that they are appropriate for everybody. They're great for some people, but a family with small children or an elderly person, they might not be the best solution. So our tiny houses are all one floor, nice tall ceilings, and just a nice even flow that's just easy to walk from one side to the other.
Well, yeah, I can attest to the loft situation. Our tiny house had a loft in it that me and my wife lived in, and I am at that age where I have to go to the bathroom a lot, and you get up in the middle of the night, 3 or 4 times, try to climb down a ladder half asleep. That was a lot of fun. So you said Scandinavian design. Share with us what do you mean by Scandinavian design?
Well, it's a design concept that grew from like Denmark, Sweden, Norway. The idea was very clean lines, very clean finishes, not a lot of edging and decor, trim work, less stylistic finishing. Um, I guess you could call it simple.
Mhm.
And using more earth materials, so natural woods, and just kind of keeping things minimal. It doesn't necessarily have to be minimalism, but definitely only having what you need and needing what you have. Um, I am a personal fan of the balance between form and function in the home. So a lot of our tiny houses are, do I need this? And does it work? Does it look good? And is this necessary? So if it's all of those things, then it should be in the tiny house. But people want to make homes their own as well. And so I don't want to fill our tiny houses with things that might not be what somebody else wants to have in their home. And that's part of keeping it clean and simple. And when I look at examples of Scandinavian design in Europe and Scandinavia, I see a lot of places that I'm like, I want to live there. So I feel like there's just, like I said earlier, it's just a natural click of keeping things kind of nature, rooted in nature, and clean and simple and just easy to move through.
I see that the interior finish on the house behind you there is just a pine finish, and I noticed that on some of your other ones you had it looked like a 4x8 sheet of plywood with a batten strip on it. And when you're talking about clean and simple, to me that's pretty clean and simple. It's about as basic as you can get. What type of finish do you put on your inside there on that pine?
We'll do linseed oil. We do an all natural, organic. We special order it. And the inside finish will always just have that nice natural oil on it. So it dries and it feels like raw wood, even though it is conditioned and it is protected. Um, that's really the only finish we use. This, as you see behind me, this house is still being built, so there's no trim work or anything here yet. But yeah, this is just a regular tongue and groove. And the other one you're referring to, which I think we'll take a look at later, that is a solid maple wall. So it is a sheet, but it is natural maple on that wall. And same thing, that one has a water-based finish on it. That's not the linseed oil, just because of the type of wood, needed a little bit more protection. But we have been building the Scandinavian tiny houses. These are our 28-foot tiny houses with just the linseed oil on the inside.
And does that have to be maintained every year or 5 years or something like that? Or
I don't think it really needs much maintenance. I mean, obviously you want to clean your walls and dust the little gaps, but I would say if somebody felt like they wanted to refresh the wood, to add a coat of oil on it, maybe 5 years.
Okay. How about the outside? What do you put on the outside of your houses?
So our standard finish is a mix of the linseed oil with an all natural Swedish pine tar, and we buy the real stuff. One thing I am particular about is that a lot of pine tar that is sold in America is sold to dry faster. So they add solvents into it, which can be not good chemicals to have near your body or breathing when you're working with them. So this all natural pine tar, it takes about 3, maybe 5 days to dry, and it hardens because it is a natural product coming from trees. And it hardens like a hard sap, and it protects that wood better than anything I have ever seen work. It's better than paint. It would need to be reapplied, I would say, after maybe 10 or 12 years if somebody wanted to just keep it fresh. We have had customers want us to paint over the pine tar, which we've done, and it doesn't look bad. It actually holds well with the paint. Being a natural product, it just kind of folds into the wood. I'm saying fold because it does actually like get into it, seeps into the wood. So the paint sticks pretty good. So if somebody wanted to change the color, that's a pretty easy thing to do.
When you say linseed oil, can you educate me anyway? Is that a natural product? What is it made from? Do you know?
Yeah. So linseed oil is like a plant oil. It's very similar to like canola oil. It comes from a very particular flower, and it's pressed and then you have the oil. And linseed is the same thing. It just comes from a flower. It's the seed of the flower, and it's pressed, and you have the oil. When it's pure, it's just clear, and it has a very bright wood tone smell to it, and it's a little sticky, but
Yeah,
that's what I know
I know.
about it.
When I was growing up, I didn't know anything about anything, and we really didn't worry about all natural stuff. And it, it was just, it was a different era. I'm talking back in the '60s and the '70s. And so when Dad, we bought a 150-year-old house and remodeled it. And when Dad wanted to stain something, he went and got kerosene and mixed tar, the same kind of tar you put on a roof, in with the kerosene and use that for the stain. So when you're talking about linseed oil and pine tar, that reminds me of that, but it's certainly probably a lot easier on the environment to utilize the natural products.
Yeah, yeah. We feel very strongly about we don't want to live in a house that's going to poison us if we can help it. And so using those natural materials, and then also, when you're using them, they get on your body and you breathe in the fumes, and that's your health right
Oh yeah,
there, going towards your work. So
absolutely, absolutely. We lived beside a railroad track, and when they took out the old creosote railroad ties, um, Dad would go pick them up. We'd go pick them up with him. It's three boys, and we used them to in our fireplace. And so I'm thinking years later, breathing all that creosote, in the logs while we were inside the house certainly didn't benefit our health. And I mean, we're fine now, but in today's world, you'd never do anything like that. Uh, so when you talk about off gassing, there's a company that we met at the show that was doing FEMA houses for Hurricane Katrina, and also I think they did some down in Haiti. And FEMA requires a certain test to make sure that there's no off gassing. They had a lot of problems back in the past with off gassing of their FEMA homes. And in order to pass the test, they did something where they took their plywood and they had like 4 huge fans in this one room, and they put the plywood on racks. And for 4 days, they would just blow air across that plywood to make the off gassing happen faster or something, in order for them to pass their test with FEMA, the off gassing test. So I thought that might be something interesting to share with you guys. If you ever get into a place, I know out in California, you have your fires and you probably need, housing, and FEMA might be involved with that and in the tiny houses. But that's one way they were able to accomplish the off-gassing, reduction in the off-gassing in their tiny houses on wheels. So anyway, anything else? Oh, I forgot to tell you guys, if you have any questions, as usual, just raise your hand or put it in the chat. I wanted to take a look at the house that you're in. If you could kind of take us around that house inside and out, and then we'll move over to the other house. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to speak up. And Leanne is keeping an eye on the chat. So this is a 28-foot house that we're looking at here, right?
yeah, so it's a little raw still. It's not finished. We just put the floors in yesterday.
Are they laminate? Are they laminate
yeah.
floors?
Oh no, this is a all natural. Oh gosh, I'm having a blonde moment. Maple.
Maple,
All natural
okay.
maple. It is a click installation. It's a floating floor. But yeah, this maple hardwood. So here, let me take a step back. So here behind my camera setup is the front door. And so when you walk in, Immediately to your left, there's a bookshelf, which is just over the wheel well. So you'll see the black on the bottom is the wheel well. We haven't put the wall section in there yet because we have to finish installing the shelf first, but then that'll be wall where the black is now. And then there's the bedroom door it's a 1 bedroom, 1 bath. And then this corner is where we put the couch. We do furnish our tiny houses for sale. And we tell our customers, you don't have to take the furniture if you don't want it, but it is included. And then the kitchen extends here where I was sitting. That would be the kitchen. We have the water and the drain here. And those are our 2 dedicated outlets. And the third one there that's a little bit lower is for the electric induction cooktop that we'll have installed on the counter. It's a flat touch surface induction cooktop. And that is the bathroom. But since I'm on this side, I'm going to show you the bedroom. This is a 1 bedroom here, and there's enough room to put a queen size bed. If it goes from the corner to the door frame here, and it will cover this areas here. So it's just height about 60 by 80 for a queen size bed. And above me, we have installed a light fan unit in this tiny house. The last 2 Scandinavians, that was probably the #1 request, was having a fan in the bedroom. And so I just went ahead and did that on this one already. So here's it from the side.
Is that window open? That window above there and the other one, is that an opening window or just a let-in light?
Yeah, this is a picture window. And then our corner windows, the one on the left here is a picture, and the one on the right is the emergency egress. That slides open. Yeah.
Yeah, and that, guys, that egress window looks like it's large enough to meet the IRC requirements. It probably is bigger than the RV. Yeah. All right, good. Well, keep going.
All right. Yeah, so here, I'm going to leave the bedroom. So this would be, I'm walking through the living room and the kitchen right now. And behind the door here, this is where we put the refrigerator. We do a 9 cubic foot refrigerator. That, like I said, it comes with the unit, but it's not necessary to take it. And we usually have a cupboard over the kitchen a cupboard over the refrigerator, as well as this would be the cooktop on the right, and then a hood and another cabinet over the top of that as well. And that's kind of our kitchen idea. And in the bathroom, this is the toilet and the sink, and you'll see the sink drain's actually coming out in 2. This is the vent, the pipe venting, which is one of the things that NOAA requires. We do use all HEPVO filters in our drains. With the toilet drain, we have venting out to the back of the unit from that pipe there.
Just so
And
you know,
also
guys,
one thing that
just so you know, the HEPVO filter, if you're not familiar with that, it replaces a trap. The HEPVO trap is it's like it has 2 rubber things on the inside that fold shut, so it only lets the water flow one direction. We really like it for showers where the shower drain goes down underneath of the home, and a lot of times the shower's in the back of the home, and when in transport with that shower trap hanging below there, a lot of times it gets knocked off. But if you use a HEPVO vent, then you wouldn't have that trap on the bottom. You still have to have an outside vent, but with the HEPVO, you don't have to have a trap.
Yeah, they're great. We put them on everything. So both the sinks, the shower, and the washer drain as well. We want to make sure we're not going to have.
Yeah, with the
anything come up.
HEPVO, guys, though, you have to let the buyer know, and you should have this in your owner manual, that the buyer know that they cannot use a snake in that if they get a clog, and they cannot use a snake with the HEPVO. It'll just tear up that HEPVO completely, because it's just 2 rubber flaps. So HEPVO vents are supposed to be accessible So you can take, in case of a clog, you can take them out, and in case they break down, over time they will break down and stop working. You can replace them. So just some, we should probably talk about that sometime, and with the building inspectors, they would do that. Yeah, I'll put that in the chat there, Doug. HEPVO, I believe is how it's spelled. I'll look it up and get it, put it in the chat before we end here. I'm sorry, go ahead, Tasha.
Oh, it's all good. Typos are awesome. They're worth talking about. The toilet here, one thing I wanted to point out is that we have a dedicated circuit here. It's just on its own little loop. It is for the toilet. And that is if somebody wants to install a electric incinerating toilet, we have that option available. So there doesn't have to be any funny wiring after the fact. But we do flush toilet standard in most of our builds, but we do offer upgrades for waterless toilets and incinerating toilets as well.
Yeah, in the
In this side,
wait a minute, in the composting toilet, you do have to, a lot of them have plugs too for the vent. So that would be a good plug for the vent for the composting toilet.
Yeah, this wall here, and then if somebody wanted to do this work themselves, I have the diagram available for where they could the vent. There's no other lines right here. So electrical stops here, goes that way. Otherwise, the other electrical's up high, and this water line comes down. So if they want to put the vent in for another toilet option, which including the incinerating toilet does need another vent, then this is where you would drill the hole for that vent.
Good. And that's another reason why
and on this side of the
It's another reason why we videotape the inspection, so that if you do need to cut a hole in the outside wall, you can actually get the stage 3 rough-in inspections and see where the wires and the plumbing is going. Go ahead,
Yeah.
Tasha.
Oh yeah, so on this side of the bathroom, we have the shower here. It's not done being installed all the way, but there will be a rain shower head coming down and a wand here. So there's options for accessing the shower water. And this is for the stacked washer and dryer, which comes with the unit. We already have the vents put in and the hookups here for it. And like I said, there is a HEPVO in this, just underneath this drain right here, there's a HEPVO. So the dedicated outlets here, they're both on 2 different circuits. So one's for the dryer, one's for the washer. And if they did have an issue and they were to pop, you don't want to have to move your washer and dryer. So we wired them to one other outlet. One is here over the sink. So you could press that to reset your circuit if you needed to. And the other one is on the outside outlet, which is pretty easy to get to from the front door. And then nice storage and shelf above it. So that is pretty much the inside of this unit. Yeah, we good on this one? You guys got any questions about?
Well, anybody got any questions before we move on? That's the put the HEPVO valve in there. I think Sharon has a question or a comment. Does the pine tar linseed oil mixture applied to the siding keep the original color of the wood, or does it allow the wood to go weather gray/silver? I think the pine tar linseed oil mixture was on the inside, but I don't know whether it does allows it to weather or turn colors or keeps the same color. Can you help us with that?
So the linseed oil is clear, and we use that on the inside finishes. It will leave the wood looking natural and feeling natural, and it doesn't yellow or gray over time. So if it's the type of wood, so this pine we're looking at right now is not going to have that issue. It's not going to have a fading issue due to the linseed oil. If the wood itself, though, has the personality to age with a change in color, then that could happen. An example is the exterior wood we're putting on this unit is going to be a rain screen using larch, and larch does naturally gray over time. But the pine tar is actually very dark. It's pitch black, and I'm going to show you here. It's through the screen, but this is where we're going next, is this 14-foot tiny house, and that is a natural pine tar finish, and that's kind of the color. And I'll show it to you a little bit more in just a moment.
Well, this is Noah.
Hey, Doug, did you want to talk? Do you have a question? Anyway,
Oh, sorry,
yeah.
I didn't realize I wasn't muted.
Oh, okay. Oh, not a problem. Hey, so it was my bad. It is the pine tar that goes on the outside, and you just use clear linseed oil on the inside. Gotcha.
I'm going to go ahead and walk over to the other tiny house. It is a little windy. I won't be able to hear you, so I'm going to kind of jump in, but I'll show a good panning shot on my way.
You can kind of see the outside of this house too, that it doesn't have the finishes on it.
You know, that's kind of a small picture. Is there any chance she could share the video possibly to make that bigger?
Oh, you mean on her, if she turned it
Yeah.
sideways, it might go bigger.
I don't
But
know.
we'll ask her to do that. There she goes. No, it doesn't do it. It just turned, oh yeah, there it go. It made it bigger.
I'm kind of hiding from the wind. Yeah, so excuse the trash can. So yeah, this is the 14-foot. It's a 14-foot trailer, 8.5 feet wide. Well, actually it's at 100 inches, so just shy. And this is, the exterior is the T111 that has been finished with the pine tar. So for an example here, this is the T111 unfinished on the 28-foot. So that's before, and that's after.
Okay.
Taking into account, of course, I'm standing in the shade.
Yeah.
All right, so here, I'm gonna stand back. So this is our studio tiny house. We call it the backyard tiny house, but it's really a great room for like a guest or an office. Right now we have this black futon style couch in here. We also have a full-size bed that will fit in here, and it kind of goes out to where the edge of that table is. You'll see the leg of the table right here. So as you probably noticed, the door opens out, which was an idea, of course, to try to make more inside room usable. And we always suggest having a patio installed for a tiny house, just because it makes it feel like a more settled home. I guess would be the right word for it. Now these walls, I know we mentioned that earlier, the walls. So these are solid maple walls, and they do have a water-based finish on it, which is a little bit different than the linseed oil. And that was just because of the texture and the porous nature of this wood. It just needed something a little bit different to finish it off. However, the maple is floor, or walls and ceiling, and the floor is the same hardwood maple floors that we have in the other unit.
Okay.
The kitchen here, we have a microwave. It's a little big. It kind of takes up a lot of the space. Actually, it was just put in here for a house guest to warm up some nachos. But we also have a fridge that has never been used with most things in here that we just advertise it comes with the unit. Of course, it's up to the buyer if they want to use the fridge or have it. Otherwise, one of my favorite things about this space is it's 14 feet, but it has a lot of storage here. Just, I'll show you. And there's even one other cupboard here with a second shelf that hasn't been put in place yet. So there's a lot of usable storage for being just over 100 square feet. Understanding that that might not be the right size in some locations to call this a primary dwelling, but certainly as a guest house or a home office, this is the right size. And the bathroom here.
In IRC, they do require one room that is 70 square feet. So if that room is 70 square feet, it would meet the requirements of IRC.
I'm pretty sure it is.
And then that kitchenette thing that you have there, that is what, about 4 feet, I would imagine, just looking at it. And you could potentially put a shelf right above the sink that you could set the microwave on if you wanted to get it up off of the counter and still have your counter space.
I love the way you think, Robin. It's an excellent idea. Yeah, this unit comes with a flush toilet, but the same thing I showed you in the other unit, we have it ready. So if you wanted to, if somebody wanted to change the toilet type, there is a electric outlet there. And then the venting would be going through the front. Just with the way this design worked, the venting would have to go out from where the back of this toilet is right now, which would be kind of towards the front, or you can go down and out the back of the tiny house, going underneath the tiny house, which is our chosen option when we do offer upgrades for the toilet. And we have a 32-inch shower here with the rain screen, or I'm sorry, the rain fall shower.
Please hold while I try to connect you.
I know that music.
Yeah. I don't know who's on music.
Nancy, how may I help you?
Hi, Nancy. So I'm all set. I'm in the portal. I just have a couple questions for you. It's Lex.
Jordan, can you mute Lex?
If I have consulting questions and I'm
Hey,
not obviously not ready for
Jordan,
inspections, how do
you
I
mute
schedule those?
Lex,
The same way you
or
would in
Lex, can you mute yourself? Oh, there you go. Yay. And so we do have consulting capability guys, and that's what was happening right there. So anyway,
That was lovely. So the bathroom door is a frosted glass door, and we actually do this on all of our bathroom doors. It definitely allows for privacy, but allows for the flow of light. So you can see the lights coming in through the window behind the door.
okay, is that a translucent door, and then is it a pocket door or a sliding door?
It's a pocket. Yep. I'm a fan of pocket doors. They save a lot of space.
Yeah, and Doug Smith has a question. He says he wanted to know about the GFIC outlet. I was told the other day during an inspection that each GFIC had to be on its own circuit. That is not exactly true, Doug. Basically, in the kitchen, you need 2 appliance outlets, but you can have, let's just say you have 4 outlets in the kitchen. Two could be on one circuit and 2 could be on the other, but the GFIC also has a line and a load on the back. So if you take it from the load side to another outlet, that one does not have to be a GFIC. Taken and installed in series like that, it will actually pop at 7.5 amps, which is what the GFCI is supposed to do. So you can have one GFCI outlet and put as many outlets past that until you meet the capacity of the 20 amp circuit. So so there needs to be 2 in the kitchen, and then I believe 1 in the bathroom, and those need to be designated circuits. So
2 separate circuits, though, you're
yes.
saying, right? Okay, maybe
Right.
that's what Tony was saying, because I only had 2 outlets in the kitchen.
Okay. Yeah, if you have
'Cause
2
it's a
outlets in
small
the kitchen,
kitchen,
they need to be on separate circuits. Yes, because you have
so
to have
that's
2
okay.
appliance outlets there.
That's what I was trying to understand, because the other one that I did, I had 4 outlets, and that was on a separate circuit. Okay.
Yeah. Nope, you're good. All right. Go ahead, Tasha.
Oh, well, that's it. That's all I have to show because this guy's pretty pretty small. Like I said, it's just over 100 square feet.
Yeah, and we're gonna be
There's
doing a
the one.
14 footer, so I think we're gonna do a loft in ours and put a loft over the kitchen and the bath, but
Mhm.
no, this is a good layout. I kind of like the openness of it. Anybody have any questions for her? We've kind of been answering them along as we go.
Hey, Tasha, Doug, Beechwood Tiny Homes, kind of curious, why not a Murphy bed in there in that little 14 footer?
We considered a Murphy bed. We actually had to struggle to find one that would fit in the space. Most particularly, we want to reserve 80 inches from the back wall out, so there's enough standing room where the kitchen area is. And a lot of the beds that have extended frames, like a Murphy bed, it has extra space added to the frame, will make that distance longer, and then you're pinching in the kitchen cupboard. You can't open the doors in the cupboard. And like I said, a full bed is about the right size for this space. And the full bed gives you about 20 inches from the door to the bed in that walking area. I felt like even though we could sneak a queen in here, probably wouldn't be comfortable. And considering the idea, our use of this space was as a guest house or office, or a place to at least take a phone call without the kids yelling in the background. We felt that installing furniture like that was not a choice for us. But if somebody were to find that piece of furniture, it's totally up to them to install it.
Huh. Now I feel like I'm on a mission to find an RV style. Because I do an RV queen in my 16 footer in the loft, because there just wasn't enough room to put an actual queen there.
If you could find like a Murphy bed that would fit in this space, like please message me, and I would love to look at it. We've definitely been looking at Murphy bed options a lot, and we just can't, and pull out couches as well. And when we're working at 100 inches wide, we're just at about 96 inches with our inside space, and that really makes it hard to fit in furniture that's extended. So a pull-out couch is the bed plus the space for the back of the couch. So we're looking at a bed then becomes 100 inches wide. Well, unless we're going to dig it into the walls, it's just not going to fit. And yeah, but I would love to know if anybody out there has a good solution for fitting bigger beds in smaller spaces. Please message me. And my shameless shout out, cahillworks.com. I'm behind that every day.
Yeah. Can you put that in the chat, Leanne? That would be good to do that. And also, just so you guys know, when you're having an egress requirement, one of the requirements is the hallway leading to the egress, secondary or primary egress. And believe it or not, that hallway can be, drum roll, 13 inches wide. So that is the minimum size of a hallway. So when you pull a bed down, if you still have 13 inches, you're still within the requirements of the RV world. Now, when we get to writing standards, I don't think we're going to have that that low of a standard. I know in the IRC, International Residential Code, that wouldn't fly. So anyway, just wanted to mention that to you guys, who, when you're designing that, 13 inches is the minimum hallway space, and the minimum egress, primary egress door. You know, normally you put in a 3.0 door or a 2.8 door, but I think, don't hold me to this, but I think the minimum width of a door is 18 inches for a primary egress door. So that was interesting. 4 feet high.
Robin, you just actually brought up a really good point. I'm going to flip my camera back around. When we were doing our notice certification on this tiny house, the topic of our egress window came out, because there's our door and there's our emergency exit. So, how is that okay? Well,
Yeah.
because this is the main living area. And so if, say, I'm sitting right here, right, and there's a fire there, I can still escape that way. So as long as you're not passing your primary door, you're not walking past your primary door to get to your emergency exit, it's allowed. And it also cannot be in the bathroom, even though this would be an approved size window for an emergency exit. The emergency egress cannot be in a bathroom, which is a really important note for some designs I've seen online that are not NOAA certified.
Yeah, basically the rule is that every sleeping area needs to have a primary and a secondary means of egress. And the primary is usually the door, and the secondary is usually a window. And so when you have one small tiny house like this one here, you have a secondary means of egress right beside the primary on the door. The other rule is that if you have a primary and a secondary in there, and then you have a bedroom somewhere that has a door within 2 feet of that bedroom that goes to the outside, you don't need a secondary means of egress. So just be careful of those rules when you're building your tiny houses, designing your tiny houses, to make sure that you meet the egress requirements. That's it's hard to fix once you've gotten them in there. And that if you turn your camera around and show that window one more time, that window would probably, I know the bathroom window would make, should, like you said, be large enough for the RV style egress. It has to be 24 wide by 17 tall. But that one there would probably meet the IRC egress requirements, which is 20 inches wide and 24 tall. And on the first floor, it's 5.0 square feet. So I think that window, that slider right there, would meet the IRC egress. So
It's almost twice the size.
yeah, of the RV.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
All right, guys. Let's see. Tasha, been looking at floating tongue and groove solid wood flooring for chemical sensitive. And I am wondering what brand you are using and how you decided on it. This is Sharon Harrell.
I actually don't know off the top of my head. I'm so sorry. But if you want to message me, I will pull that up immediately and I can get that to you shortly after this meeting ends. I would just need to run inside and get on my computer.
Sounds good. Well, Sharon said thank you.
Yeah.
And I want to thank everyone. You have any final comments, Leanne, before we close things out?
Me? No, I just want to say thank you so much. That was very informative, and I love both homes that you showed us. I think I did feature that smaller one on social media, so just really appreciate you being with us today and taking the time out of your very busy schedule.
I love what NOAA does. I got to tell you guys, when all the customers I talk to, I tell them, look for NOAA. If you don't buy from me, I don't care. Look for NOAA, because that's where it's at. You want to know you're buying quality. You want to live in something safe.
Mm-hmm.
And anything I can do to spread the word, I'm here for you.
Thank you so much. Greatly appreciate it. So anything else, Robin? You want me to close it out? Anybody have any questions? Tasha, if you email me, I can get that in. I have Sharon on my email.
Okay, yeah.
We could do it that way if you want. So thanks everybody for coming. Tomorrow, as you know, is a discussion, continuing discussion on codes and standards. And so join us for that very, very important talk. And I think that's it for the evening. You guys have a great night, afternoon, wherever you may be tuning in from. And we'll see you tomorrow. Hasta mañana.
All right.
Thanks,
bye.
Tasha.